So an exciting week in golf to this week. It was just a lot of stuff happening. Late last week we had Tiger announcing that he was going to be playing in the Genesis Open. Coming off of the Waste Management being an exciting tournament. And we had an exciting finish today on Sunday with Jon Rahm taking home the win, fighting it out with Max Homa on the back nine. And this week, Netflix released the series Full Swing. So a lot happening in the golf world. And let me not forget rumors of Brooks Koepka possibly wanting to return to the PGA Tour. I have a lot of thoughts about that, especially considering his part in the Netflix series and some of the things that he said. And so let's start it off at the top with Jon Rahm. How did you view Jon Rahm in the golf space? Is he number one in the world to you, just unquestioned number one, or do you still have questions around him?
Um, I would say I still have questions, but after reading like one of my favorite golf books, Harvey Pinnick dropped the Little Red Book. One of the best sayings that he has in the whole book is you're not worried about the guy with the pretty swing. You're worried about the ugly swing that can score. And Jon Rahm has found a way to score and go low and win consistently. So I think at this moment you got to kind of crown him. Rory's in there, Scotty's in there. I mean, I think there's three or four guys that could ultimately, take that crown. But for right now, Jon Rahm is hands and shoulders and feet above everybody else right now because he is cooking.
Yeah, but you said you questioned it. So why is it not just like a slam dunk, no questions asked? Let me go through
Right.
his last couple of results. So he has finished going backwards third last week in the Waste Management. The week before that, last event, tied for seventh. Going into the last part of 2020, he had two wins overseas, tied for eighth, and then tied for fourth. Excuse me. The two wins were on the PGA Tour this year,
Yeah.
and then after the FedEx season was over, he had two wins overseas. So top tens every time he tees it up. It's pretty damn exceptional.
I just think the only thing that would make me question it, like you said, is I mean, just like with Rory, I mean, those top guys just don't have touch around the green as far as putting and stuff like that. So I mean, that's my only drawback, but everything else still goes in order, and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing to make it happen. I definitely think he's.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could put Scotty Scheffler's putting stroke with Jon Rahm or Rory McIlroy, it's a undefeated, really kind of matchup right there. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely
I
think
think
there's. Go ahead.
and he seemed to have the putter going today at least, especially on the back nine, hitting some long putts, saving some up and downs, but really putting the pressure on Max Homa, who's also been playing pretty damn well himself. On this West Coast swing, he's a California guy, and so it'll be interesting to see if Max Homa's game travels. He has been an interesting follow on Twitter for a long time. And before he saw success on the PGA Tour, how do you feel about Max Homa, his game? And do you think when we start seeing them go into other areas outside of California, maybe a grasses that he's not necessarily used to playing or his comfort zone is outside of, how do you think Max Homa is going to fare on the east side of the country?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess history shows that he hasn't really shown up. He's a one trick pony out in Cali. But I mean, if you can make your money all in one state, there's nothing wrong with that. And no judgment here. I like his presence on Twitter. Real like down to earth, funny guy, like just one of the boys type deal. And he responds to a lot of his fans. He does the rate your swing thing. Like, I mean, he does a lot of things to get fan interaction. And I think that's like, we talk about star potential and, people like magnetizing yourself for like fans and things like that. I think Max Homa does that. And I think he does it easily. Like, it's not even like a force or, He's trying
Yeah,
hard
it's
to
just who
do it.
he
Like
is.
it's exactly, exactly. So I like
Yeah.
it, but I don't. We'll see. Florida's coming up, and
I
Florida
don't know.
golf is completely different.
And just seeing him, I'm not going to say he folded today, because he was on Rahm's back, pretty much. I think it came down to like a 15th hole. I think I forget the hole specifically, but he made a bad decision to try to hit a hybrid, or some
Hmm.
type of wood out of trouble on the left side of the course, even though his caddy seemed to want to talk him out of that situation. I think it's decisions like that where you just take your medicine and play for. He ended up, having a putt for par, but he made it much more difficult than playing out of the fairway or at a better angle at that hole. And I think that's the separation between a Homa and a Rom. Rom seems to have the mental toughness to be able to kind of
Definitely
navigate through those situations. And that's, I'm not saying he's Tiger. That's not even the comparison. But golfers that tend to separate themselves, it becomes a mental game where they are putting the pressure on their opponents, and their opponents never feel like they can get up off the mat, essentially. And it seems like when
agreed.
Rahm gets in the lead, he has that mentality. Versus Homa, I don't know if he's got that kind of dog in him to do that.
Agreed.
So, um, how did you get a chance to watch Tiger? Through the 4 rounds. How much of the coverage did you take in of Tiger? I know the first day at the end of his round 16, 17, 18, birdie, and just brought back memories of old Tiger, seeing him and Justin and Rory interacting as a threesome. How much of the coverage did you catch with Tiger this weekend?
Thursday I caught pretty much all of it. Friday, we watched like, via stream or whatever, so caught a good glimpse of that as well as he kind of folded and barely made the cut, limped in like literally, figuratively, like he literally limped in.
Yeah,
Like,
that limp on Thursday was pretty damn bad. I was watching early
yeah,
on the road. I was driving, and that limp was bad.
I think now he uses the gum as like a protector, so like he doesn't show his grimaces as much. So like it's like a
Mm,
big baseball wad of gum, and he's just kind of like lightly chewing it, step, light grimace, like a little cheese or whatever. But I definitely like enjoyed what I saw from Tiger. Felt like he was swinging more within himself. I think he is full on, bought into stack and tilt, keep as much pressure off of that right leg as possible, alleviate all the
yeah,
pressure, the plantar fasciitis, whatever it may be. But I think if he can get it around the Masters, he's always got a good look. He knows the greens better than anybody. The course allows for him to just kind of bat it around because of the pine straw, the low rough. As long as he's not too deep in the trees, it'll be okay.
yeah,
I think he needs to get his magic putting wand back together. He had a few, like I would say, he had a
yeah,
few moments where it was just kind of like, I don't know what's happening on the green. And I think that was Friday, a little bit on Sunday, but
yeah,
Thursday and Saturday he looked really solid, tee to green
yeah. He
and on the
really
green.
tried to make a
So
move. Yeah, Saturday he definitely made a move, and not that he was ever in contention or that was even a thought, but it's fun to wonder and look at him and see if he can recapture some of that magic. When you speak about the Masters, I'm thinking, it was cool in LA on Thursday when he first
mhm,
started. So going into the evening as well as, Friday morning, I'm wondering and I'm hoping that the weather in Augusta cooperates. I know we've had a couple of cool Masters these last couple of years, so I'm hoping that the
right.
weather is warmer and it allows him to be at least the fullest version of himself. I think that coolness really doesn't allow him to stay loose. You saw him stretching out the back as well,
Yep.
today and Saturday. So I'm very curious, like what all the different elements that he's got going on. It's his first time competitively playing 72 holes in 10 months. That's a long
Yeah,
time, and I don't even. They said that he hasn't even done it at home either, and so he's continuing to build up his body, seeing what his body can handle. He did not announce any more tournaments on the Florida swing. He just alluded to trying to play all four majors and two
yep,
to three regular tour events this year. So he hasn't announced which of those other, two or possibly three that he will play. I'm hoping to see him in the players, but
right.
that's a I think a few weeks away. Um, Outside of kind of the Masters, what are your hopes for his season? What's the best that we can realistically hope for from Tiger this year?
Tiger's realistic goals need to be somewhere within the range of a T10, like a top 10, a top 25 type look, just to know he can kind of compete and be like in one of the final groups. And I mean, but pretty much everybody nowadays can pretty much understand that Tiger doesn't hold the same intimidation or same weight when he's in a later group because he's shown that he's beatable now. He's shown that he's human. He's
Yeah,
shown that he's gaining an age. So nobody's really just going to be sitting here like, oh my God, Tiger's breathing down my neck. I'm gonna poop the bed. The urine's gonna be coming down my leg. Like it's not like that anymore. So I think realistically,
yeah,
the players again, just things like like all his historically successful events is something that he needs to gravitate towards too. So I think he needs to maybe look at the Arnold Palmer, especially since he can
yeah,
get an exemption into that 8-time winner. I think he'll be okay if he wants to play in that. I think he needs to
yeah.
get
And
in
they're back
that.
to back, so we're only getting one of the two since they're back to back weeks.
Exactly.
So
So hopefully
if you
he
had to
can get in
vote,
that.
Arnold or or players, which one would you pick if you had a
Mm,
choice?
Arnold. Arnold. I want
Okay,
him to feel confident. I want him to feel like he can win. He's only won the players twice, and that was 12 years apart.
yeah.
Ain't
So
happening.
yeah, I mean, some courses just don't set up for his game. Like there's just certain
Right.
courses that you just never play very well at, and so you know uh the Memorial is one where we look at where he's won it a ton of times. Just it sets up for his swing, so we'll see.
Definitely.
The truth is Tiger moves the needle, no doubt about it. The crowds were crazy this weekend, following
Oh
him
yeah.
around, making the noise, the roars, and just again, Thursday, with those three birdies in a row on 18 and just feeling the momentum, it felt good to see it. And
Scintillating
a
stuff for
side
real.
note, definitely scintillating. This is a side note, and I'm curious of your opinion. I'll state mine first. So, um, pictures came out of after a drive, Tiger handing JT a Tampax or tampon, and it caused a lot of stir about people saying it wasn't sensitive, it was an insult to women. My view on that is that it was a private moment between two friends, and I don't know. I'm not super political. I'm not. I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle of politically correct, and then things should be. Some things are okay. There's private things that go on. It wasn't as if he announced this in a press conference afterwards, like, yeah, I threw that tampon at JT. So I thought it was
Right.
a private moment that because there's cameras everywhere, it captured it, and people were in an uproar about it. How do you feel about that? And again, I'm just trying to be balanced. I totally understand it. It wasn't a public moment in terms of something that he advertised or either one of them. But what are your thoughts on
Right.
that?
I'm in the same ballpark. Like I get it in the realm of it could be offensive, but you got to think about it. Just look at the pictures, first of all. Look how far this person had to zoom in and search for this moment. Like, you're
Yeah,
searching out for this trouble to be happening. Don't get me wrong, probably Tiger could have did this discreetly, cameras are always on him, so he
Right.
probably kind of knows where the cameras can and cannot see him. But it's just like what you said. Like it's not like he's out here like boom sucker like in your face. I mean, he literally discreetly, like it was like as if it was a cigarette or something. Like he's just like, here, you need one, like I got
Right.
you. And it's like
He wasn't
I
even
just
looking at
think
him when he did it.
just so nonchalant. I think I mean like to me it's like a moment between the bros. And like they already talked about this in the coverage, like Rory, JT, Tiger, they all get rounds in Florida all the time. Like they're neighbors. Like they play all the time. This is
Yeah.
nothing new for them to, play 18 or whatnot together. So I just really think it was just a moment of really a joke moment that was relatively funny in hindsight, but I definitely can see why people are not happy about it, like 100%.
I get Yeah,
I
I
just
get
feel
it.
like people are
I totally
are very
understand.
reactionary though, like in that
100%. All it takes is one person to get going on it, and then it gains momentum. And then, but I'm sorry, like talking about he's a girl dad and he should know better. I just think that's going too
a little
far.
bit
You know,
blown out of for
it's just
sure.
not that serious. It's just not that serious. All right, so Full Swing on Netflix. Did you get a chance to catch any of the episodes? Have you not watched any? If not, tell
Not
me why.
yet. Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, I just haven't had time. I mean, I want to delve into it, especially like after the trailer and everything that was shown. And yeah, I it's funny because like looking through the notes and stuff that we were talking about, looking at Brooks's face, just even in the trailer, how he's just kind of like, why did I go through with this? Why did I do this?
It's so that's the
You put
interesting
it on
thing.
yourself,
I'm
buddy.
gonna go. I know. I'm gonna go through my notes. Let's see. So came up in episode 2, and they really did spend a lot of time. Episode 1 was interesting. It was kind of spread out. Felt like it was like an introduction to golf. They were talking about some really simple things, like simple concepts
Hmm.
about golf, and then they got into the details. So he was in episode 2, and it was really focusing on his injuries, his game being down, starting the season on the PGA Tour last year, and then feeling like this was the right thing for him. That's what they were all saying, right? This is the right thing for my family. But then simultaneously, I think it was also Wednesday and or Thursday that news came out about rumors regarding Brooks possibly wanting to return to the PGA Tour. He's not
Yeah,
quiet on Twitter at all. And he has not refuted this or denied it. He's not someone who's quiet about their opinion. So
right.
it's very, I think he did this as a money grab, but he's also one of the biggest egos in the game. And so seeing all these other things that have been going on the PGA Tour, the TGL League with Rory and Tiger, and just all the opportunities now, I get it. Live sucks, but it has opened up doors for the PGA Tour. And I think he's seeing that. What are your thoughts on him going, possibly wanting to come back? Are you like, F you, he made your bed, now lay in it? Or are you like welcoming of people trying to return after you realize you made a mistake, possibly?
Uh, Unfortunately, I'm on the side of finality. Brother, you went.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you. Like you're still gonna be like what you need to do is you need to get in like just like what they're doing, Sergio and whoever else that's young enough to still kind of compete. They're going over and playing those Asian tour events, Patrick Reed, that type of stuff. Get your exemptions, keep your world ranking, and play in the majors. Talk your shit in the majors. Because otherwise I don't see an avenue back for the PGA for you. Like it's only so much remorse you can have. It's only, I mean, you've already done the talking. You've made the money already. I don't think he should I don't even think he should feel sad or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm a big Live hater and I don't like that he went to Live, but you went, you made your money. I respect it. You are a family man now. You play 8 times a year for 54 holes and that's what you want to do.
14. 14 this year. I get it, man. I want them to. So let's say this, because in my brain, when I started hearing about this, I said, "Hey, he's going to have to one give back all that money if he wants to return it,
True.
and figure out how
True.
to repay it, right?" And
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming serve some sort of suspension from the PGA Tour. But I think the way he looked at it is the competitiveness that made him a champion, winning what, four majors between 17 and 19. It seemed like he was just showing up, and big game, Brooks would come out for the majors and dominate them. And so
Right.
I think he's looking at, okay, my body's right again. Can I go out there and compete at the highest level? Because when you just show up and do these kind of bullshit tournaments 14 times a year, and that's not really, the team stuff, we're not even going to discuss that. That's not competitive at all. And
Right.
I hate that they're
Right.
pushing the crap out of that on, and even on his Twitter, like the last 10 posts are all about his particular team, and it's just kind of lame. Nobody's looking at it like F1, motorsports or what, or like Premier League. Nobody's looking at live golf
Exactly.
like that. Kids don't know these teams from a hole in the wall. But I think if he was to make amends and say, literally to come out and say, dude, I made a mistake. I've paid back what I owed live golf, and I want to come compete. I think I would be willing to give him a chance. And I think that just that humbleness would change the scenario all around. I don't know. I know you feel a
Right.
certain way
Humility.
about it.
Yeah, humility wise,
I
it
think that
like
goes
I
along.
mean, I just feel like you throw it in his face. Like I mean, like I would. I mean, that'd be the only reason why I'd allow him back. I'd be like, yeah, you done came groveling back now, didn't you? Uh-huh. That's the only thing I would do.
But
But I could see that.
we're Americans are suckers for redemption stories, and so especially if you have an ego on you and you can just say,
Yeah.
"I'm sorry, I effed up." People would accept that, right? There's
That's
already a group of people that hated Brooks before he went to live just because of the ego.
definitely.
But you might be able to capture some of that again, and I don't think the fans don't necessarily matter to you playing good golf or not, and if he wins again, on in the major redemption, people would come
Yeah.
around again to his story. So neither here nor there. But I think it's an interesting topic, something to watch. Wait for his denial or silence. I think silence
Right.
says a lot. You know, so
If
he
it's
could
gonna
be working in the
come
background with lawyers.
true.
Go
I,
ahead.
I was about to say like he's probably I was gonna say that when we first brought it up, I was gonna say he's probably alluding to like court proceedings and stuff that he can and cannot say and what's going on with the inner workings behind the scenes as far as with the new PGA commission and what they're gonna do with that and probably about his media rights and things like that, and how he's going to get out of his TV deal with Live now that they actually have one and stuff like that. So, and probably just like what you said, paying back the money that he either received already or some type of payment that he's going to do to pay off and stuff like that. So, a lot of things can happen
Yeah,
behind the scenes between now and that first major where we're going to see those guys with those world ranking points coming in.
yeah. And Liv announced a few more joint signees this week. So I think Mito Pereira, um, not Carlos, maybe Carlos Ortiz this week, Brendan Steele, and a couple of other names that are slipping my
Brendan
mind right
Steele.
now. Yeah, hadn't won on the
Well,
PGA Tour since 2017. I'm just saying, there's a trend going on.
Wilson staff tour alumni, strong player there.
I'm
Yep,
just saying the people that they're getting are not making
they're
a
not
splash. These are,
they're not attention
yeah,
grabbers.
no. And the more this goes along and they're not able to get the big names, the more ridiculous this looks. I want to find this dang story. of who they've gotten before we hop off of here. But again, these are not splashy names. So as you get these kind of middling players, especially when there was always the rumors about Mito Pereira going. A lot
Hmm.
of people from Chile, a lot of Latin golfers. Um, Sebastian Munoz, that's another one that got signed, has never been able to close the deal. So I mean, these are
On
people that because
either
you
tour
follow
that he's
golf.
on.
Yeah, these are people that you follow, but you don't really care. So if they keep getting these kind of mid-range golfers, do you think this looks silly?
Yes, yes, because you're just literally you're literally admitting you can't get what you want. You just were like, oh no, with the money that we're bringing in, what? All these top names are coming. Bro, you have Cam Smith. We're not talking about anybody else besides him. And even then, we
Yeah.
don't even talk about Cam Smith anymore. Bro is A-OK, living in Australia and playing his 13 and a half events or whatever they play out there. I don't know. I mean,
He
we,
said 13, 13 and a half. Okay, so I pulled up the news story. So Thomas Peters and Danny Lee. Not Danny. Is it Danny Lee? So Thomas Peters, club throwing, angry. He's like a baby version to me of Terrell Hadden
you know,
mixed with early Jon Rahm. Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, they've won tournaments on the PGA Tour, but these are not stars that we're missing. I mean, it's just the truth is what I think is the PGA Tour talent is showing is that wherever people defect, other stars will step up. Like we hadn't
exactly.
even another guy that was hot last year, Cam Young, um, another Sam Burns. I mean, the talent on the PGA Tour is deep. I mean, guys that can
Right,
go and get it. So all they
right.
really needed are opportunities. And so if you have journeymen in their mid 30s who are just keeping a tour card and it allows room for people to really step into the void and kill it, I'm all for it because I think the talent
Definitely.
is going to show up no matter what.
I'm all for it.
So anyway, let's segue into kind of another question, another conversation about talent. Um, I'm see these stories like at the Farmers and this week, the Advocates Pro Golfers Association, or yeah, APGA, I forget the acronym for it. It's an opportunity for African American golfers to get a spot and get some looks on the PGA Tour, some reps, and be able to get into these big events. But these are also some of the hardest courses that they're playing. Torrey Pines is no joke. Riviera is no joke. You don't typically see a lot of these later on in the season. I'm sure we will see some exemptions, but they're
Hmm.
getting these really tough goes and rounds out on the PGA Tour. When I was looking at this, I'm thinking, would it be more beneficial for them to be able to get out and just on the Corn Ferry Tour? It's a little more accessible. I mean, you're still playing really, some tough, difficult courses, but not PGA Tour level. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like it's beneficial, or would you rather see these done in a better way? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I like when you see the scores that the guys that got, exemptions and stuff, you kind of want to reel it back and say, like, hey, like, maybe we should have not rushed into it. But at the end of the day, you play one or two events through exemptions on the PGA Tour to get your name out there, kind of get your feet wet. I think what it should provide though is if you do well enough or if you make a cut or something like along the lines of that, it should provide you like an avenue to the Corn Ferry Tour, like as far as like a transitioning phase. And you should be able to like it
Yeah,
kind of expedite your process. Like it shouldn't take you as long. Like it should kind of get you like a conditional status or something like that onto one of the lesser tours, one of the subsidiaries of PGA Tour. So like I definitely get that they should start somewhere a little bit lower, work their way up, but at the end of the day, if their goal is ultimately to be on the PGA, then why not go head hunting for it right away? I think ultimately, like Marcus
That makes
Bird,
sense.
he's back to back weeks. He's got the Genesis and then he's got the Farmers. So he shot like plus over par, of course. Well,
He
not
was
of course, but
six. Yeah, he was +6 this week. So he missed the cut by 5 strokes.
yeah,
I can't remember where he ended up in the Farmers. It wasn't too bad. And there was another guy that was also represented by Eastside Golf, which we'll talk about that at some point. Um, that barely missed the cut. He fell apart on the last hole and had a
yeah,
chance to make the cut. So it's not far off, but sometimes it's also not even close. So it's just something that
right,
I've been following that tour and just seeing, guys trying to get their shot and them trying to put as much um, stock into that. You see somebody like a Willie Mack, the third, who is actually on the Corn Ferry this year and has been able to get status. So there are the success stories, or at least that one that we can point to for somebody who's been grinding it out for years and seeing some success. And he, also got, I guess that kind of makes the point for myself that he got starts on the farm in the Farmers and was able to get into the Corn
yeah,
Ferry. But I agree that maybe some conditional status, guaranteed like 5 starts on the Corn Ferry if you can make the cut. That would
right,
be, that would be super beneficial and something to shoot for some of those players, just to give people an opportunity. I think one thing that I took from just kind of circling back to the Netflix series is that so many things have to go right, especially when you're looking at somebody's story like a Tony Finau, who came from lesser means, living in Utah and some rougher areas, and then being able to make it onto the PGA Tour. I mean, he's an incredible talent,
yeah,
but having resources and being able to pay for tournaments and travel and not work a full-time job, there's a lot that goes into the PGA Tour and being successful at golf. I mean, it's just a lot of work. It takes a lot of precision. And so I
yep,
think giving opportunities for people who may not have those kind of traditional avenues and backing would be awesome to see. So more on that, I guess, as we see how things develop on that tour. I think that's
yeah.
the main topics that came up this week. Anything that you want to talk about before we log off here?
Um. Oh, LPGA is back next week, and they're in Thailand. So for like things that like me and you always gravitate towards to late live golf, like that's like my realm. So I'm excited for 10 p.m. live golf, and I think everybody like just as fans of golf, proprietors for learning the game, we should all take a look at LPGA golf as far as tempo, rhythm, the technical side of things. Like, you can't go wrong. These
Right.
ladies are 75% from the fairway, 65% on the greens. Like, this is the golf we need to be playing. Don't be afraid
Yeah.
to take the
The amateur
hybrids.
go-
Don't be afraid. Come on.
the amateur golfer could learn so much from an LPGA player. Most averages for amateurs probably line up more in line, or I'd say
Exactly.
probably lag a little bit behind LPGA players. And you can see some of them are getting kind of particularly long off the tee.
They're getting long.
The game is getting it's getting more athletic, and I agree. I think it's a wonderful game. It's people struggle to I think the more chances people give women's sports in general, I think the better, because it is entertaining. I was even watching a
Exactly.
women's college basketball game today, and I was like, it was very technically sound, and no, people aren't dunking and going crazy, but it was just good, solid basketball. Same thing with the
Exactly.
LPGA. I've had a chance to take, my daughter or your niece to an LPGA event a couple of years ago, and watching it up close, it is damn impressive. I mean, it's the
Hmm.
quality strikes, like you said. No one's trying to kill it, but there's some people that can go out and really get it. And so I agree also with the timing. late at night, early morning, there's not a lot of competition for your attention, and so you can just sit down, watch the golf. Sometimes you fall asleep like you would watching, golf on a Sunday afternoon. So,
Exactly.
it's to me, it's a great product. I think it's something that I'm hoping that more people get invested in women's golf. I'm happy to see it return. There's a couple people that I am excited to watch this year. Somebody that I picked up on last year that kills it. Have you watched Lynn Grant? I think she plays primarily on the European
She's
side, but
Swedish
she's
or
gotten
something,
some
right?
starts. I think so, but
Scandinavian for
kills
sure.
it.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
nice.
she's I don't know, man. There's a lot of game out there. So yeah, if you
Right.
are not watching LPGA, I think that's a good call out, Marcus. It's something that you should definitely, if you can't stay up for it this coming week, put it on record, catch some of the events. Unfortunately, you know, coverage has been a bit of a struggle, kind of overlapping with PGA events, but I have noticed that Golf Channel, even major networks, CBS, NBC that they partner with, are trying to give more, credence to the ladies' game, and they've gotten some primetime coverage. So I'm hoping that continues because I think it's inspiring. Again, I have a daughter that I want to get into golf, and she's really starting to catch on to the game, and so having some examples for her to see, I think are you can't go wrong. And I'm really
Absolutely.
looking forward to a good golf season. Great call out there.
For sure. Oh, also, by the way, I still think back to that video you sent to the fam where Parnanong Fatlum is giving her a high five on the ropes.
Yeah,
Like, that's the type of
yeah,
thing that makes you come back. Like, they recognize you, they see you as one of them. So
oh
you get
yeah,
a high five, and then now she's gonna be looking for her. She's gonna be trying to come back and get more high fives and watch more golf. I think, like, it's just like what you
yeah.
said. Like, I think it should be a positive thing to grow the game. Like, as the more exposure it gets, the easier it is going to be for more and more people to grow and see it and see how successful they can be out there.
It's so relatable, and to be honest, the entertainment at a LPGA event is a lot better than PGA events that I've been to. More family friendly, and it's a
Yeah,
great time. They just have activities and entertainment areas set up. When you go to a PGA Tour event, yes, there's some of those things, but it's trending more towards corporate entertainment for adults, drinking,
yep,
etc. And I'm not saying clearly alcoholic beverages are served at LPGA events, but that's not the focus. It's around family fun, and so again, it's targeting the audience that is going to support them long term as more women, females get into the game of golf. It's a great game that we talk about this all the time that we wish we had access to prior to being adults, but now that we
right,
have been engaged in the game, you meet great people. It opens up opportunities and doors for you that you just don't expect. And so, as women get into the game of golf, whether their aspirations are to be in the corporate world, it gives them an opportunity to have the same leg up that their male counterparts have. I met a woman probably in her early 50s on the golf course months ago, and she said that. She's like, I was always in the office on Fridays, and all my male counterparts were out on the golf course. So she's like, I
going to
picked up the
play.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so I think, golf has that appeal. And it's a lifetime sport that we can play, long into our life. So, there's just so
right.
many things that are positive about the game of golf and instill confidence. And so if young ladies like my daughter or otherwise can see that and be inspired by it, I think the LPGA definitely caters to that and serves their fans very well.
Agreed.
Well, I appreciate you joining me this evening. I know you weren't 100%, but I think we had a great live show. We've been posting content, the last 3 weeks here. We're going to keep this going. It's fun just to not talk to myself on this channel and have some back and forth with my little bro and just talk about golf as we would as if we were, sitting in a cart playing 18. Love to have you come along with us as we enjoy this, as we continue to do live shows and add this into the repertoire, to have people join the channel live, be able to get your input as well. So I'm hoping that we can get some traction on these live streams and be able to do this more often. So with that, I think we're going to sign off. Good night. This is a golden hour for me and my brother. We're probably hitting our stride. So talk to you later. Peace.
Peace.